Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 24th episode of Tales of Tamriel. Boy, do we have a fun show planned for you today, and we have lots we want to talk about. But first, let me introduce the host. As always, I am your great sword-swinging, light-wielding Templar host, Aggelos. And with me, as always, we have the beast healing. Unless there are spiders in the dungeon, then she doesn't even really want to look at the screen to heal. Sorceress Thais, how are you doing this afternoon, my dear?
I am really good. You know, it's kind of warm, I'm kind of sleepy, but it's a good day.
Excellent. Well, as I stated earlier, we do have a lot to go over. This week there is a lot of interesting news on the Elder Scrolls Online front, as well as some awesome reveals from creative director at ZeniMax, Mr. Paul Sage himself, during his interview on Elder Scrolls Off the Record. And we will be discussing some of those highlights in our discussion topic this evening. But for now, let's delve into the load of news and have a great time, shall we? First off, on game news, patch 1.2.5 hit live servers on Monday, July 7th. And let's see here as I pull up my notes here. First off, for the overview, the Elder Scrolls Online version 1.2.5 is an incremental patch and addresses many issues with quest, UI, and gameplay. We also introduced some changes to the veteran system to make it more solo-friendly. We have implemented some small performance improvements that may result in better frames per second for some. Please note that this is part of an ongoing effort to resolve client performance issues, and we will be working on additional improvements and fixes as well. First up, big changes, updates, and new features.
Veteran rank changes. Phase 1 of our veteran gameplay changes begin with this patch. The first in a series of changes we'll be making to improve the post-50 experience overall. We've lowered the difficulty of the second and third alliance zones to bring them more in line with zones from 1 to 50. You'll be able to continue soloing through them more easily than before, though they'll still be challenging. We have much more information about veteran system changes on the way, so make sure to watch our site for updates.
Okay, let's hit this one first, because this one I think is both good and controversial at the same time. The hardcore fan base, those of us like myself who prefer the Dark Souls difficulty, saw this as a pretty big nerf to content. Now, those who are of the more solo-friendly, or they want to be more solo and play this almost like a single-player Elder Scrolls games, found the veteran content to be too hard. And I know a lot of people quit the game because of veteran rank content. They felt it was too difficult. It didn't reward well enough for the amount of effort you had to put in it. Now, when me and you, Thais, when we were playing, the veteran content felt right for duo, because we each had our own assortment of heals and damage, and duo, it felt a nice level of difficulty that I found was very enjoyable. It punished us if we did something stupid, but it didn't feel so difficult that it felt impossible. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I do. I enjoyed how it felt when we were playing together on Stros Mackay.
Right. However, when we logged back in on Monday and I've been starting to play the veteran content yet again, I noticed that the veteran content, like, I was out there the other day on my Templar. Well, it was actually today when you were making fun of me for having 2 games up at once. I was just putzing around Stros Mackay on my Templar, my VR1 Templar, just farming materials. And I pulled 3 or 4 of the veteran rank 1 wolves, and I was able to take them down. They got me to about 50% health, but I really didn't feel like I was in danger at any given time, whereas before, without you, that would have been detrimental. So it seems like it's a pretty substantial nerf to the content. Do you think this is actually going to be a good thing, or do you think it actually harms the game in the long run?
I think it harms the game more than helps the game. If they wanted to make a change to the veteran rank system, they shouldn't have just made the overall difficulty of the mobs easier. It's not what they should have done. They should have made it so that it made you want to continue in the veteran rank content. Maybe make them hit a little less hard, but up the rewards you get. That definitely makes more sense than going, oh, you will just take the Nerf bat to this content. Wham! Now you can just, breeze right through it. I think it was a bad decision.
Do you think it'll bring players back who hit the brick wall of VR content and gave up?
I think it will. I do. Once they hear that, oh, well, VR content isn't nearly as difficult as it was, I think it will bring people back, and they'll be happy to see that it's easier for maybe, a couple weeks, and then they'll go, wow, this is way too easy. As with our story, later on in the show, some things are better off being a little more difficult. It adds the sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely. I mean, I hate easy games. If it's easy, it's boring to me, and it allows the content locust to just rip through it. I personally agree with you. I think they took the wrong approach. They shouldn't have nerfed the difficulty, but they should have substantially upped the rewards. Now, I love ZeniMax, and you'll hear us gushing about them later because they've done a lot of cool stuff, but it feels like this was just a knee-jerk reaction because of the loss of subs, because I think what they did is they saw the loss of subs and the amount. If you ever went to the official Elder Scrolls Online forums, it was nothing but forum posts of people whining and complaining about how hard veteran rank dungeons actually are, or not dungeons, veteran rank content was, and I think they took a knee-jerk reaction of, we don't want to lose players over this, people aren't enjoying it, let's nerf it. Rather than taking the, honestly, it probably would have taken them a lot longer, but to redo the entire reward structure. But then you'd also have to look at the players who've already completed everything. How do you go back and retroactively reward them? Because if they didn't, there would be a lot of complaints about, hey, I already went through the content when it was difficult and rewarded me nothing, and now these new players are going through and getting 5 times the rewards that I was, or whatever the case may be. How is that fair? I think that would actually cause more harm than good. So, I don't know. In the long run, I think this is a good thing for the veteran content. Let the people solo. I wouldn't have looked forward to not that I wouldn't look forward to because I like hard difficulty, but I think it would be a lot more daunting if I was going up against this stuff solo in veteran rank, but I always play with you, so it was never difficult. But, yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I've actually already seen on Twitter a couple people saying they were already coming back because of the changes to veteran ranks, and now they'll pick their characters back up again. So I've seen a pretty positive response from the people who've already left Elder Scrolls Online because of the VR content wall. But I've seen a lot of negativity as well on the people who've stayed and who have been playing it, and they just feel like they've nerfed the game. So we'll have to wait and see, but we will be talking a little bit about how they're planning on changing the veteran rank system later on during our discussion topic. Otherwise, for patch 1.2.5, there wasn't a lot of other things in here. A lot of fixes and improvements for the Alliance War. There was audio fixes, combat, and gameplay. Specifically, Templar changes to restoring light. Honor the Dead will now properly return magicka if the target is healed over 50%. Thank goodness, because I actually use that ability a lot, so yay. And they fixed Silver Bolts in the Fighters Guild. They fixed an issue where this ability would proc 100% of the time against werewolves, specifically in werewolf form. Well, I actually didn't see that as broken, because I'd want it to proc 100% of the time. It'd probably suck if you were a werewolf, but I would have wanted it to stay 100% of the time. There are some more quest changes, as well as dungeon and group content fixes. If you're interested in checking out these patch notes, you can either find them on the official forums, under the patch notes section, or tsoelite.com does a great little write-up of all the patch notes if you'd like to see it there as well. Moving on to the next bit of news, it is another Battlemaster corner, the Blood Rogue. Ooh, the Blood Rogue. Alright, this guy goes through his little, it looks like he did a little bit of a roleplay story here about his guy. He plays Breton, and he is making a well, this is a Nightblade. Did you read through any of this, Thais?
I did.
Okay, do you know enough to actually give a little bit of a synopsis for this?
Oh, dear me. My Nightblade is only about level 10. Oh, man. All I can really say is I liked it when I read through it, except for using the bow. I'm not really into the bow skills. I think the way that the bow looks could have been done better. That's just the only complaint I have. As for the skills that he uses in dual wielding and the thief skills, those are really good. He says, I like to call myself a blood rogue. I siphon health from enemies to stay alive while dealing some nice damage. I wear a mix of heavy and medium armor, medium for sneak and stamina bonus, and heavy for defense. After all, why should I drain HP when I don't have the defense to keep it up? I'm using dual wielding mostly, I prefer swords, and use a bow when in a group if I need to kill something from a distance. I've also got some skill with the restoration staff, but I don't use it very often.
Alright, so it looks like this guy's focusing very heavily on augmenting the Nightblade's natural siphoning abilities. So this is attack and heal kind of thing, almost like... There was a class in another game called Dark Age of Camelot that did this. It was the Vampire class that was not really a rogue in that it stealthed or anything like that, but its attacks would actually drain health. So it's kind of looks like he's going that route. It looks pretty solid, other than the fact that Nightblade sucks, so take that with a grain of salt. If you're interested in checking this out, it is on the official Elder Scrolls Online page under their community projects. Alright, we're going to move on to the next set of news. The Road Ahead article, July 8th. Now, this is a fun one. This really is. He talks a lot about Update 3. So, first off, for the Road Ahead, ZOS and ESO at Quakecon, as part of the Pan Bethesda fan event, will be out in force at the Quakecon in Dallas. I'm sorry about that. From July 17th through the 20th. Most events related to the Elder Scrolls Online will be held on Friday, July 17th. We'll have our own panel, there will be hands-on stations at our booth, and we'll host a Q&A session. Everyone is welcome. We'd love to see you there. If you can't make it to the show, you can join us to watch the panel and Q&A from our Twitch channel, which I'm going to attempt to do. Here's the breakdown of what we're planning. The Future of ESO Panel. This is a big one, guys, where senior developers will talk about their different responsibilities and what they're working on. Creative Director Paul Sage will present an update on changes coming to the veteran system, which we will cover further down in the article, and lots more. There's a community meet and greet after the panel, PvP tournament, and a Trials tournament, both with live streams. So if you are planning to attend Quakecon and want to... join up on any of these tournaments, you will want to sign up right away. For those who don't know, Quakecon is one of the largest open LAN parties in the U.S. Actually, it might be the world. I don't even know. But it's pretty neat. If it wasn't held in Dallas, we might actually go, but whoever wants to go to Texas. Next up,
EU Mega Server updates. We're getting closer and closer to being able to announce a specific date for the migration of the EU Mega Server to our Frankfurt data center. As I type this, it looks like the move will happen during either the last week of July or the first week of August. This is obviously a delicate operation, and we have to make sure that everything is up and running, and that all character data is transferred successfully. We are taking the time to do it right.
That's pretty neat. I know a lot of people have been... A lot of the EU players, I feel bad for them having to connect to an EU server, if you could see I'm doing air quotes here, EU server that's held in the United States. So by moving it over to, where is it, Frankfurt? Oh, Frankfurt. Nice. They should get better ping rates. During the Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Online interview with director Paul Sage on Elder Scrolls Off the Record, he talks about this, and he doesn't expect people to see much of a improvement because he thinks it's actually really good for EU players anyway. If any of our EU player base out there want to send us a mail and tell us what your experience is, whether or not you have lag and latency issues. I would be really curious about this. So save those emails and wait till it transfers, and then send me an email about your experiences before and after the move. I think it'll be pretty cool. Next up is veteran rank system. We've been listening to your feedback about ESO's veteran rank content. Some of the issues are that it's too much of a departure from the 1 to 50 experience. You know what? I actually do agree with that. It is a very large departure from the 1 to 50.
I've been enjoying that. I like that it's different.
I have too, but I think people, like they said, they hit a brick wall because it really was a huge jump up in difficulty. It's much more grindy, air quotes. It can be too difficult, and rewards don't match the effort you put into the progress. I agree with the rewards part. I am very happy to say that we're making a series of announcements, starting at Quakecon, that will address problems with the veteran system in ESO, leading to a much more compelling high-level PvE experience for everyone. In the interim, we've implemented some balance changes to content in the post-50 zones that will make it much more like the content from 1 to 50. Our goal is to remove the feeling of, I just hit a wall of difficulty, that many of you have commented on. You'll be able to solo much more easily. One of our guiding principles of our veteran gameplay was to encourage people, not force them to group. We wanted people to be able to solo to max level, but still wanted you to participate in group content. This principle was the reason we made our post-50 zones more difficult. We wanted you to get together with others and take down tougher challenges. But this hasn't been well received. Many of you love the game you played from 1 to 50, and the veteran level zones are too much of a departure from that experience. We know you want the ability to continue participating in solo content as you progress through veteran ranks. This will occur over time, but the first few phases look like this. Before I go over the phases, I actually do agree with him right there. The forcing you to group, it felt natural for us to duo veteran content, hence why we were saying how nice it felt when me and you were playing together. And solo, it was kind of a daunting experience.
So, pretty much everyone just needs to, have a significant other with them. Or get a nice game-playing wife or husband.
I actually said that in the Tales of Tamriel Friends and Family Guild the other night, I encouraged everyone that if you have a significant other or a friend that's really close, to make a character with them and only play it with them like you and I do, and do everything duo from from level 1 to VR 12. Just it's a big time commitment, but make it an alt or something and play with one other person, and it's a fun experience. It really is. It's one of the best that I've encountered in a MMORPG. All right, back to the article. Phase 1. Make sure the difficulty in veteran zones ramps up slowly and rarely exceeds what a good player can do on their own. And I put emphasis on the good player. That was from me. This change comes to live servers on July 7th. By the time you read this, you should be able to play veteran content the same way you played 1 to 50. Phase 2, they're going to remove the veteran point system and have a normal experience gains direct the growth of the veteran system. Also will increase the amount of XP granted in PvP. This will happen at some point over the summer as we transition to the new system. Phase 3, they're going to introduce a completely new veteran system based on new character customization and growth mechanics. We'll talk more about this in the future, especially during Quakecon. But for now, be aware that we're going to make some much needed changes post-50 PvE gameplay. The primary reason for making this change is to ensure that you have meaningful choices in the post-50 PvE game experience that reinforce the design idea that you can play the way you want to play. Alright, let's talk about that just a little bit. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that he revealed, because Paul Sage revealed a lot during the Elder Scrolls Off the Record interview. I just smushed Elder Scrolls Online and Elder Scrolls Off the Record into one conglomerate. Yeah, it was a mess. Let's just stop there. Okay, how do you feel about that, Thais?
I'm excited to see how it's going to work. I don't quite understand it yet. You were explaining some things to me before. Didn't make much sense. So I'm curious to see how it's going to work. What are they really going to do?
Well,
but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, why are they changing it so much? There's still easier things they could have done to just improved it. They don't have to completely scrap the idea and start over. So I'm a little weary. I don't know how it's gonna work.
Well, I actually know a little bit about what we're going to talk about a little later, so I'm excited for the changes, and I think they're good overall. But here's one thing that I made note of. There is a difference between veteran rank experience and normal experience, hence why when we hit level 50 all the way back in the Rift, and then went through Cold Harbor together as... we didn't gain any experience for veteran levels. It's because normal experience points don't work for veteran levels in its current iteration. Now they're changing that. They're just saying, you know what? Forget it. Anything you do that earns you experience will earn you veteran rank experience. We're just going to get rid of veteran rank. You'll just use normal experience. So I think that'll be kind of nice, because then if you go back to lower level stuff just to mess around, it'll actually, you can still do different stuff and get a little bit of rewards. Okay, next up, Thais, why don't you read this Update 3 and Guild Enhancements?
Okay, Update 3, or Guild Extravaganza, as we call it, introduces lots of guild and player customization improvements, and it will be coming to the public test server soon. Few features...
I'm gonna preface soon by it's live now, just so you know.
Few features are more important to ESO than guilds. They provide the easiest and most fun way to meet new people, chat with groups while you're playing, and are almost always the first choice when putting together a dungeon or PvP group. As such, we're devoting a large portion of Update 3 to making sure that guilds are easy to create, fun to join and manage, and provide players with a social group that helps them in their journey through Tamriel. It is also important to note that almost all of these guild enhancements came about as a result of your feedback. Please keep up the comments on the forums, on social media, and in places like Reddit. We are reading and listening. Here's a quick summary of Update 3's guild enhancements. Management. Guild leaders can create, delete, and promote guild ranks. Guilds can have up to 10 ranks of membership, each of which can have its own icon. The bank. Guild leaders can set permissions to allow members to withdraw guild from the guild bank based on their rank. Store updates. Anyone in your alliance can browse your guild store in Cyrodiil if your guild owns a keep. Traders. The Gold Coast Trading Company will establish kiosks throughout the cities of Tamriel. The merchants running the kiosks can be hired by guilds on a weekly basis via auction to act as a portal to their guild store, which can be browsed by any player in the guild's alliance. Auctions use a blind bidding process and are held once a week per merchant. Heraldry, which I know Ag is very excited for. Guild leaders can design guild heraldry for their guilds if they have 10 or more members. Each guild member can purchase and wear a tabard emblazoned with the guild's chosen colors and crest. There are 250 colors, 63 backgrounds, and 136 crests that can be mixed and matched to form guild heraldry.
Look at that tabard. Hey, look, there's a tabard. Tabards everywhere. I'm actually really excited about this. But first off, let's start at the top of this and we'll hit the bullet points. They're updating guild management to allow you to create, delete, and promote ranks. I don't know why people make such a big deal about it, but they do, because some people like to be very nitty-gritty. Don't look at me, I know when I was a guild leader, yes, I was the same way, but, alright, you know what? I do understand. Stop it. Stop giving me the eye daggers.
He'd have 20 ranks for, like, every version of a member with these really strange descriptions on why they were those ranks. And when I took over one of the guilds because he couldn't do it anymore, I think I deleted 80% of them, and I had like member, veteran member, officer, and guild master, and that's all I needed.
Yes, well, some people really like that. They like to have multiple different ranks for officers, team leads, class leads, stuff of that nature. Now you'll be able to create this, and I don't know why. Actually, I do, so I'm not even going to say that. If you really like management, there you go. And actually, I can tell you right now, with the Tales of Tamriel Guild, one of our 4 ranks is getting deleted. We're going down to 3. Because I don't use the basic one, because everyone comes in, I just promote them to member all the time anyway, because we're just a friends and family guild. There's no real structure. It's just so you can chat with us on the podcast. And no real reason to have all these ranks. The bank, they're allowing you to set permissions to allow members to withdraw gold from the guild bank based on their rank, which is definitely good. I'm fond of being able to put restrictions, because there have been issues, and I remember talking with some of the early guild leaders from like Elder Scrolls Off the Record and some of the other guilds saying, when you have an open guild such as Friends and Family Guilds for podcasts, people will join and take advantage. They had issues where people would be coming in and just stealing stuff out of their guild bank and then dropping from the guild because there's no restriction. So it's definitely a good thing, because I wouldn't want to put money in a guild bank because people could just up and take it. I really wish they would go a little further with this. It seems like they're only doing it with gold, but I would really like to see them put restrictions either by the tab up at the top, like blocking weapons, whatever, based on rank or whatever the case may be, or better yet, put restrictions on rarity. So, like, purple items, only people of this rank can actually withdraw purple items, or blue items, only people of this one can withdraw blue, or give a number going, okay, these veteran members can all withdraw 1 purple and 1 blue a day. And that's it. You know, they need to have more in there for the items. I know we use our guild bank pretty much as a repository for provisioning mats, because there's 9 billion of them in this game. But yeah, gold's a good start, but they could definitely do a little bit more. What do you think?
I agree with the statement about the bank. I really do. I don't agree with the statement about the management. I think it seems really silly. 4 should be enough. 4 predetermined ranks should be plenty. But with the bank, yeah, definitely. I do agree with that.
Next up, store updates. Anyone in your alliance can browse your guild store in Cyrodiil if your guild... You know what? I actually thought they could do this already. So apparently they just implemented this, because from the very start they said we were going to be able to do this, and I guess they're just now getting around to implementing it. Next up, traders. They're going to have kiosks throughout all the different cities, and apparently there's something like 130 approximately in every faction. That are just kiosks that you'll be able to talk to and be able to view guild stores. And it's a blind bidding system. And somebody they asked on Elder Scrolls Off the Record about how it's going to work. It is a free market system, so anyone in a guild can bid and take over any... If someone has so much money, they could, in theory, take over all 130. But, I mean, let's face it, that's a lot of kiosk for one place, or for one guild store. But will you make back all that money? Who knows? Some people complained, is this fair for smaller guilds? Blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you this. It doesn't matter if you're in a small guild or a large guild. Be in a large guild. We've been in large guilds. You know how helpful they are? They're not. Because, let's face it, in order for this to actually work, people are going to have to give of their gold to help, blind bid for this. So you bid gold in hopes that you get the spot so you can sell more, so you're spending money. I find most MMO players as a whole are rather selfish, so being in a guild of 512 members, maybe less than 5% would actually donate money to you. I mean, really, unless you have a very, very loyal guild base, most won't. I would actually find most smaller guilds that are very cohesive would actually probably have a greater percentage of their player base actually submit money for the bidding. I think smaller guilds will actually probably have a greater chance, because I know we're part of two different large trading guilds. I wouldn't give them a darn cent if they asked me for it. I wouldn't, because I don't know anyone in there. I only use them to sell in their guild store. So I really don't think these small guild people who are complaining have any right to complain. I think they just didn't think it through. It happens. Do you have anything to say about the traders?
I don't really like it. I like right now how there's no large auction house. It's all guild based. Mm-hmm. I think opening it up to your alliance, it's gonna change way too much.
I think it's gonna change, but I think it's gonna change for the good. And this is why. Because guilds have a cap on them for the amount of people you can have in them, blah, 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 blah. And this will allow people to go to the major cities, let's say Mournhold, and just walk around the different kiosks and shop. It's going to be easier, you're going to have a wider range, but at most, you're going to have 128 different guilds vying for spots, okay? This is mega server wide. So 120, I can tell you right now there's more than 128 guilds in this game. There's probably, oh my goodness, I wouldn't even want to barter to guess the number here of how many actual guilds there are in the game. But I think it will open the market up a little, but will provide some healthy competition that if you have an active guild market, perhaps you require a tax of your guildies going, hey, we're going for another couple of kiosks so we can all make money. Let's all donate X amount of gold so we can bid. If I were part of a crafting guild, I would definitely do that because I would know, even if I gave 1,000 gold to bid, I could make more than that if if you sell one epic piece of gear, or even one tempering alloy would make you more than that 1,000, so you come out ahead in the long run. And it saves you from having to stand in one of the towns hawking your wares wanting to sell. And you can get out and play the game. It all depends. Go out and farm more so you can craft more so you can put more on the guild store and make more money. I mean, ask anyone in real business today, it costs money to make money. You have to put forth the initial investment. I think it'll be a good change. I really think it will. And it will give players a sense of pride when their market goes on for sale that everyone can see. You know what I mean? There we go. That was kind of weird. I have to touch the mouse more. Alright. Next up is Heraldry. I'm excited about this, even though the very first picture that I saw here, the guy's a wolf, all it makes me think of is House Stark. Yes. There have been tabards and stuff like that from Dark Age of Camelot. It used to be on capes, not really tabards. I prefer capes to tabards, but modern games don't seem to really want to touch capes because of physics engines. I'm sad about that, and I'll tell you this one thing. Elder Scrolls Off the Record, or not Off the Record, my goodness, I'm having issues tonight. Elder Scrolls Online already has issues with the way they design their character models and armor models, because they did it for frame rate issues. There's no way in creation they're ever going to do capes if they're worried about frame rate stuff now. Because adding capes and stuff like that would just eat up the graphics processing. So, I'm saddened by this. I hope they change it, but I doubt they ever will, just based on interviews and stuff and how worried they are about frames per second and stuff of that nature.
At least they look really good.
Yeah, they do. There seems to be a lot of different changes, and I know different games that we play. Dark Age Camelot has it. Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn has a type of heraldry system. Even though they let you put the heraldry on your armor, they don't really have tabards. But whatever free company you're in that game, they allow you to create a guild crest, and then you get to put it on your shields, you get to put it on your armor. It looks pretty neat. And I'm excited they're doing something similar to this. I have a feeling a lot of guilds might have at least smaller ones, will have I'm trying to think of the word, a guild pattern, guild colors, if you will, that all their members are in a certain color scheme and they wear the tabards so they all match. I've seen them do that. I have.
Can ours be pink?
No.
That's not fair.
No.
We can all be Pink Rangers together.
No.
Fine, I'll just be pink.
No. Moving on, class builds and balance. I'd like to take the opportunity to repeat an important point. We will make class balance changes very slowly, except for those Dragon Knights, because they can have a big impact on your play experience. We're making changes carefully, but we're always watching feedback about balance concerns. Recently, we've adjusted stamina builds, not enough, to help them become more competitive by making medium armor reduce the cost of stamina abilities and by improving the damage for several stamina-based abilities. Again, Zenimax, if you're ever listening, that's not going to fix the problem until you remove the abilities dodge, block, and CC break. They need to have their own resource, because right now we are quadruple dipping here into the stamina pool if you're a stamina user. So it's not good for stamina users in this game. Magicka users can just sit there and dodge all day because they don't use their stamina for anything. But, you know, we're using them to actually do damage, so until you change that, we're gonna be broken forever. Forever. Get that through your heads. Okay. In Update 3, ultimate abilities will scale from weapon damage or spell damage, whichever one benefits you the most. We'll continue to make incremental changes to address balance issues. It is important to note that from now on, whenever we introduce a major change to a skill line, we will be offering a free respec to players who have invested points in that line. Well, that's good, considering now it's very expensive. Here are some other character and ability topics we're looking at for potential balance changes and tweaks. The survivability of werewolves and the balance between their strengths and weaknesses may receive some adjustments. The effectiveness of Templars are being evaluated, particularly specific builds that may be underperforming when compared to similar builds of other classes, aka anything other than a healing role. Our previous changes to Dragon Knight class are undergoing review to ensure the class is fun to play and still feels powerful. They are still OP, don't worry, Zos. You're good. We are continuing to make adjustments to the Nightblade. We believe that what we've done so far has helped, but there may be more on the way. Thais, what do you think about any of that?
I think that the Dragon Knights need to be nerfed just a little bit more. They really kind of do. The werewolves, after seeing you mess around with your werewolf a little bit, I really agree that they need to be changed. It took you forever to build your ultimate, and then when you finally did use it, it was gone in seconds. It wasn't enough. It was not enough. And I feel like if it was changed to be better, you might have actually stuck with it.
No.
No? Okay. Alright, well.
On another character, maybe I'll keep it, but no.
No? Okay.
My Templar's a holy warrior. Okay.
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 I'm not sure if I understand what they're saying about the effectiveness of Templars, because you already seem to be doing very well. You blow me out of the water. It's just what?
That might be the case, my love, but other people in the guild who've been doing trials and stuff, I don't touch in damage. So I don't know if that just means you're Terabad.
I am Terabad.
Other than heal,
DPS.
yeah, you're like, yeah, I blow you out of the water when it comes to DPS, but Kipster in the guild blows me out of the water by like huge amounts. I'm sitting there going like, oh look, I did 249 DPS a second.
And I'm going to delve a little bit into our personal story time here to prove my point. With the Templars delving into stamina for dodge, this, and this, I can actually see that they need to move those abilities somewhere else and out of stamina. In one of the dungeons that we got our butts whooped in, by the way, you died more often than me, and I think I noticed why. When we had to run around, I was using sprint, and I was able to avoid things more effectively. You couldn't, because your stamina has to be reserved for everything else. Now that, to me, does not seem fair. It really doesn't. you should be able to sprint as much as I do or anyone else without you being underpowered because your stamina has to be used elsewhere. So after that dungeon, I got to see what you were really talking about. Because you were just dying left and right. I think I rezzed you, I don't know, like 6 or 7 times. But that's because I could sprint. You couldn't. So I see what you mean now by that.
They need to have a defensive resource. That's another bar. It can be a set number. I don't even care. It could be raised. I don't even. But they need to have another bar that handles all of that. Dodges, sprinting. Even you know what? Sprinting should have its own little bar underneath, like the horses do, where they have their stamina bar. Something along those lines, just so that we have other ways of actually, I don't know. You know, that's a perfect example. Instead of being another resource, have a second bar under each one: health, stamina, and magicka, and make each one do something. Such as anytime you need to CC break, make it use out of that extra magicka bar. Anytime you need to block or parry, do it out of your health bar. And anytime you need to sprint or dodge, do it out of that extra bar of stamina, like the horses. That way they don't have to break the Elder Scrolls mythos, if you will, by adding another stat that's different than the health stamina. Just add that second bar like the horses have.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. Next up on the Road Ahead article, itemization and rewards. One of the most fun reasons to play games like ESO is to obtain cool weapons, armor, and other gear through the course of your adventures. We've been closely following commentary about how, at some points in the game, it feels like you aren't being rewarded adequately for the amount of effort you put in. I've already talked about how we're looking to alleviate this at veteran ranks, but it also applies to some sections of the 1 to 50 experience. We've seen feedback that there isn't enough
differentiation.
Oh, dear heaven. There's not enough different types of armor and appearances, especially as you adventure from moment to moment, and that the items you find are not substantially better than the ones you already have, leading to a feeling of incremental gain, but never something exciting or momentous. Armor dies will be in the game as part of Update 3. Will help by giving you the ability to customize your gear colors to your taste. No pink rangers. But we're also going to introduce some new itemization features over the next couple of updates. Before I read this, Zos, if you're listening, the hot pink dye needs to be tied to the achievement for killing spiders in the veteran dungeons. Okay? All right.
That's so not fair.
That's what it needs to be. All right, new armor sets that are visually distinct from others. A new system that makes it easier to find complete sets in-game. Item rewards will be handed out in a more logical fashion by quest and enemy drops. Stay tuned to future patch notes to see how itemization and rewards evolve over the next few updates. Anything on?
All I have to say is I really hope that there is no die that's tied to killing Spideys, because I'll never be able to get it.
That's right. That's why we want it. Combat. We've been working steadily behind the scenes to make combat more fun and visceral. This is a multi-pronged effort to tweak and fix dozens of different game systems to lead to a smoother, more responsive combat system. Well, that's exciting because I already find it quite responsive and it's a lot of fun. Similar to how we're making changes to the veteran system, we'll be making meaningful changes over time. We're making changes to animations, audio, timing, server network optimization, that's a big one, and other factors to make combat more engaging. Final Fantasy XIV needs to take note from this. We'll show off some of these new combat enhancements at Quakecon to demonstrate the evolution of combat system has made over the last few months.
Cool.
Fun with armor dies.
Update 3 will be on the PTS soon, bringing with it a lot of fun, new character and guild customization features. This update has been in eternal testing at ZOS for many weeks now, and as part of that effort, we had a studio-wide contest to see who could use the new dice system to come up with the coolest, or most horrendous, outfits. Check out some of the screenshots from the contest. It was a lot of fun, and it shows the lengths to which you can change your character. The lengths to which you can change what your character looks like just by applying different colors.
Alright, so looking at these screenshots, I see Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. I see Iron Man. I don't know, some purple Catman. And Wonder Woman. Look, there's Wonder Woman.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, Wonder Woman. That's interesting.
That one?
I don't even know.
Not sure.
Some
okay.
blue rain. Oh, that might be Captain America. That could be Captain America. I can see that. Green Lantern.
I was thinking Poison Ivy.
Oh, it could be Poison Ivy. All right, I agree with that. Captain America. So yeah, this one, the Wonder Woman one, looks the best for trying to look like Wonder Woman. Even though Iron Man looks kind of interesting too. Albeit the one thing I kind of note off this, that kind of looks like Dwemer armor. Do you see that?
The Ancient Elf?
Is that Ancient Elf? This isn't Ancient Elf because of this. It looks different here. Like, this side looks different, but also the face mask. I'm not really sure. We want Dwemer. Alright, thanks for reading. As you can see, there are a lot of changes coming to ESO based on your feedback. As we roll them out, we'll be listening to what you have to say, and we hope you'll enjoy everything we planned for you. See you in Tamriel. I gotta say, like, a lot of the stuff that they've been doing, like, they have really been listening as a company, and have been doing a lot of amazing stuff with the game so far, for the game just being very new.
I agree.
Okay. That is my co-host, one who always backs me up with witty repertoire of comments.
Well, you called me off guard. Now I actually have a response.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoy that they listen as well as they do. It's something that you don't see very often, but that other companies are starting to take a part in. They're starting to let you know what they're doing, what they're thinking. I know, I'm talking to you, not the mic. I'm sorry. It's now I don't remember what I was saying. Yes, I like that they listen. Good. Listen. Good.
I agree.
Okay.
How does it feel?
Not good. Not good, bro.
All right, next up on the list, another one of their community programs, the Guild Spotlight. Oh my goodness gracious. All right.
How long have you been speaking the English language?
Not very long, apparently. All right. Looks like another German guild. Means Thunderbolt.
I would not know where to begin to pronounce it. Donnerkeil?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe?
Yep. Anyway, if you want to check them out, I'm not even going to go into this one too much because they're on the EU mega server, naturally, because I imagine they're German. Yes, they are German, see? The .de.
Well, it says right there, so far we're all German speakers.
Did they use Google Translate for this?
No, I'm pretty sure they have translators.
Oh. I don't agree. Anyway, if you feel like checking out, if you're part of the German community out there, you can check them out on the official Elder Scrolls online page for their guild spotlight for, what is it now?
You want me to try and pronounce it again?
Yes.
Oh, it's gonna be, please, anyone who's a German speaker, don't be too angry with me, but the way it looks is Donnerkeil.
Okay, good enough. Check them out on the official website today. Alright, moving on to the very next part, Update 3 Preview Video.
And it looks fantastic.
Anything else on it?
I'm very excited for it.
Okay. It's pretty neat. Just gives us a little bit of a preview about what is in there in a kind of a cinematic form. What was the little flappy arms for?
Because this is so much fun.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, it just kind of goes over in a neat little video about introducing the armor die system, guild tabards, public stores. They're adding a new difficulty mode to trials. Hopefully it is actually difficult. And plenty of fixes and improvements. So check it out. It is a 2-minute video. It is definitely worth the watch. It was entertaining, and I love the song that's on it. It's Weapons Drawn from the Elder Scrolls Online soundtrack.
I agree.
Okay, we're on that one then. Okay, moving on to the next bit of news. Patch 1.3.0, which is Update 3, everyone, is now on the PTS, and it is amazing. The overview, you want to read the overview?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Online version 1.3.0, our third major content update. In this update, we've added armor dye stations where you can change the color of your armor with dyes you unlock through achievements. We've also added and improved many guild features, including the addition of guild heraldry, guild traders, and improved guild management. Another exciting change is the updates to our campaigns in Cyrodiil. Yay! We've implemented new campaign options, each with their own rule set. We'd love to get your feedback on these new options. Alongside these new features, you'll find many fixes to quests, combat, art, and audio. We're also continuing to work on the overall class balance, but are doing so carefully so as not to impact your build too much. We're looking forward to your feedback with all these new features and updates, and can't wait to see what you think. Enjoy the rest of the update.
Alright, big changes, updates, and new features. Armor dyes. Yeah, let's go through it. Armor dyes have now been added to the game. You can visit a dye station and interact with it to dye any piece of armor that you own.
Dye stations can be found in at least one town in every normal overworld zone. There are new map markers added for these dye station locations.
Every piece of gear has up to 3 separate areas that can be dyed individually, and you have the tools available to do so.
Color sets. You can use the special dye tools to create and apply custom color sets.
The eyedropper tool. You can use this eyedropper tool to pick colors from previously dyed gears and apply that color elsewhere.
The paint bucket tool. This tool applies the dye you've selected to the corresponding color area of every piece of gear you have equipped.
At a dye station, you can see every color available. Dyes you haven't obtained yet are displayed with a lock icon. However, hover over any locked color to see what achievement is associated with it. So when you hover over that pink one, it's going to be the killing spiders.
Oh.
You can right-click on it to jump to that achievement panel and read the achievement's completion criteria.
When a dye is unlocked, it will be available for all characters on your account. Ooh, nice.
Indeed. New and improved guild features. The improved guild management.
Guild leaders can now create, delete, and reorder the guild ranks.
Hold left click and drag to arrange guild ranks. This can be done on the list itself.
Guild leaders can also assign unique icons for each rank.
Guilds can have up to 10 ranks, including the Guildmaster rank.
Each guild rank has its own set of permissions. When creating a new guild rank, you can clone the permissions of a previously existing one.
Oh, that's actually kind of neat. Of course, they have guild heraldry. This feature unlocks once a guild has reached 10 members.
Guild leaders can design a heraldry that will appear on equipable tabards. Customization of your heraldry costs a fee in gold that is automatically deducted from your guild's bank. To modify the guild's heraldry, guild leaders can click the heraldry tab on the guild window, displayed before the history tab.
And we talked about this one already before, about 250 colors, 62 backgrounds, and 136 crest. The rest of the note, they talk about the guild traders, and they also have some Alliance War updates about new campaigns. So, one thing that's kind of neat is they are changing the way campaigns are done in this one, where now there are both veteran rank and non-veteran rank campaigns, as well as the standard campaigns that anyone can join. I'm really liking this. And when patch 1.3 goes live, you're given a free home campaign assignment to each character previously assigned to a campaign, so we'll be able to change then. Yeah, so that's it. Oh, and they've changed it now that switching campaigns, home or guest, will now have a 3-day lockout timer associated with it. Instant weapon swap. We've made changes to the way we cache textures for your alternate weapon that will allow you to swap weapons readily and instantly.
Reliably.
reliably. The previous delay when swapping has been reduced significantly, so swapping to your second weapon set will be seamless and fast, making combat feel more responsive. That's pretty good.
I never noticed that delay, I guess. See, to me, it feels natural for you to wait half a second for you to pull it out. Because if you're searching in your bag, it's, you're going to have to pull it out from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, I felt this during our the one dungeon we were running, because I had two different weapon set. I'd be ranged when I was outside, and I was melee inside the portal. There was definitely a delay when I got sucked back into the portal to go hitting the button. So I do notice the delay. Now this one's going to be fun. Color correction.
Brightness, contrast, and color curves throughout the game are now adjusted via post-processing. In some locations, the effect will be subtle, but it will be more noticeable in others. We've done this to improve the visual quality of the game by increasing contrast in scenes, balancing overall color values, and reducing the influence of yellow in the sunlight and interior lighting. You'll notice more color depth and a more realistic look in the world. We don't anticipate these changes having any effect on performance, since we are already making a post-processing pass, but you can disable color correction by setting the color underscore correction value in the user settings file to 0. Check out these screenshots showing the new color correction versus the old version.
They look absolutely gorgeous. They really, really do. I'm assuming it's new and then old. Yeah. It definitely looks really good.
It looks crisper.
Yes, yes. Armor colors and tints adjusted. To prepare for our dye system, we've reevaluated the color palette we use for armor and have made some adjustments to how colors are displayed on gear throughout the game. This gives us more flexibility to add new armor sets and crafting materials, provide some more saturated colors, and will make upgrades consistently look more significant. Thank goodness. The upgrade may alter the original flavors on armor you already own, but you'll be able to choose your own color schemes with the dye system should you dislike the changes.
Where did you get flavor in that sentence?
Where did I say flavor?
I think you meant to say color, and you said flavor.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway.
Difficult mode. We added a new and optional difficulty mode for the final fight in Aetherian Archive and Helra Citadel. Look for clues near each celestial to find out how to trigger this new mode. Ooh, that's fun. When you complete the difficult version of a trial, you will be rewarded with a piece of armor from an upgraded version of the mage, serpent, or warrior item sets, which contain better stats and visuals. The colors in this set are exclusive to this armor and cannot be duplicated with dyes.
I'm just hoping it's actually difficult, because they spouted how difficult trials were going to be, and they are a cakewalk. Veteran rank dungeons for 4-man are more difficult. Like the Veteran 1 dungeons, people have been saying are way more difficult than trials, so try again, Sauce. I know you tried to be a little different with your raids, but I'm going to be very frank with you. Your raids suck. They suck bad. You know, I know you try to break from the mold and stuff like that, but you're not doing a good job with your raid content. Your veteran dungeons are a blast to play, but your raid content is pathetic. And if you hope to keep your hardcore PvE people who like to raid, you better step up your game. I'm just being honest. And anyone who's actually really likes competitive stuff will agree with me that it is a pathetic attempt at what should have been, you know, raid content in this game. Okay, moving on. Delve updates in Cold Harbor. The delves found in Cold Harbor are now larger, contain more monsters and loot. This is an ongoing effort to make all delves in the game larger. Thank goodness. Definitely. And then there's a lot of fixes and improvements that we're not going to go over because, well, they're just like bug fixes. So if you're interested in checking it out, you can either find it on the official Elder Scrolls Online forums. Our TSO Elite has a nice write-up. But one of the things I did actually want to point out is they're adding new emotes to the game. And one of them I thought was kind of cool is they're adding /dance emotes with a race name, so now you should be able to do any race dance on any character by typing /dance and then the name of the race you want to do it, such as /dance Nord, so it'd be Dance Nord, one word, or Dance Orc, or Dance Redguard. Kind of neat. I like it. Okay. Anything you want to say on these PTS notes before we move on?
I agree. Oh, I mean, no, I'm good.
All right, we're back to the I agrees, I see. All right. Moving on, next bit of news is the Adventure Handbook issue number 5. And this week, they, this is another one of their community programs where they go out on the web and try to find a bunch of different guides and stuff that players have written. Let's see here. Our first link takes us to the official ESO forums, where COUST, that's what his name is, has been compiling a great list of places where you can find familiar, mysterious Khajiit throughout Tamriel. If you're hunting down the achievement, this could help you track down the wily feline. Yes. Do you have a favorite? Oh my goodness. Haunt. There you go. Do you have a favorite haunt of his that isn't listed? Post it in the thread to share your knowledge. Tell Maik we said hi.
Next, we dive into Reddit, where there are some excellent educational discussions going on every week.
I disagree with that, Zoss. There's nothing excellent or educational in any discussion on Reddit.
Whether you want to talk shop about theory crafting and builds, crafting strategies, or you just want to ask a couple questions, they've got some great weekly topics. Check out the recent Theory Craft Tuesday, Mages Guild Monday, and a Workshop Wednesday.
This is how I feel about Reddit. Reddit is essentially 4chan with a condom on. That's it. That's the only difference. That's it. Yes. Okay. Our last link today is a resource every player should know about, ESOhead.com. They have a little bit of everything from links to additional game resources to a skill calculator and information about nearly every item, enemy, and skill in the game, and much more. It is a great place to find that bit of info you're looking for. I do like their class builder, their skill calculator. I use that a lot. So those are our articles today, and remember to send your favorite guides, and happy adventuring. So if you're interested in checking those out, they're on the official Elder Scrolls Online page under their community programs. That's the Adventurers Handbook issue number 5. Next up, and the last piece of last piece of news we have for this week is the Future of ESO Panel. We talked about it a little bit in early on, and they are going to have this panel at Quakecon, and it includes, let's see here. Well, before we get into that, the panel will begin at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Friday, July 18th. Game Director Matt Fire will introduce the panel, and he will be present for the Q&A. Here are our speakers, the topics you can expect them to cover, and the order in which they will present. First up is lead content designer Rich Lambert. He's going to be talking about the veteran City of Ash dungeon. Ooh. Region 3 of Craglorn, dungeon replayability, and grouping improvements.
Lead PvP designer Brian Wheeler will be talking about the Imperial City.
Ooh. Lead client programmer Jesse McIntyre will be talking about facial animations.
I have actually heard a lot of people complain about the faces of the NPCs.
Well, that's probably because the jaw gets offset sometimes, and it looks like they have a broken jaw. It's kind of funny.
Creative director Paul Sage will be discussing the champion system and the justice system.
Ooh, this is what I'm excited about. Lead gameplay designer Nick Conkle will be talking spellcrafting.
Art director Jared Carr will be talking about combat responsiveness and new PvE content.
The Q&A session will follow immediately after the presentation, and all panelists will answer questions until we're out of time. The panel is only part of the fun we had planned at the show, so check out our detailed QuakeCon article to make sure you don't miss anything. See you at the show. I'm definitely going to be trying to watch this. It's Friday at 6 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, so I'm going to try to watch that entire thing on their Twitch channel. So
if our computers want to cooperate and run Twitch.
Yeah, no, our computers hate Twitch. I don't know what it is, but I'll just pull it out on my phone. I'll watch it over the Verizon network for all I care. All right. That ends our news section for this week, and we're going to move on to the next section, which is our discussion topic. Now, on Thursday, July 10th, our friends over at Elder Scrolls Off the Record had creative director Paul Sage from ZOS appear on the show, and he dropped some massive bombs about future updates, and I took some notes from their interview that I really wanted to go over. First up, coming in Update 4, they announced the Dragonstar Arena, where a group of 4 go into this, and the enemies come out in waves. He said that it is actually very difficult content, and none of their development team has beaten it yet. So, this is going to be similar to Trials. I think it's going to be a timed, but for 4-person. What do you think, Thais?
Oh, I'm so excited. I enjoy difficult content very much, which we'll talk about in our story section. I'm so excited to get there. So this, to me, will probably have me banging my head against my desk and, tossing Khajiit across the room, because we have a lot of them. So I'm hoping this is as difficult as they say. I really do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one, because so far they don't really have a track record. When they say something's difficult, it doesn't seem to be very difficult. That being said, I guess I should take that back, because the Veteran Crypt of Hearts is very difficult from what I hear. We haven't even done that. It's the VR12 one. So they seem to make very hard 4-man content, but the large-scale PvE content is a joke. So I'm really excited for that, and it would be nice to have something smaller for smaller groups of people to be able to participate in. Next up is the PvP dev teams are working on the Imperial City PvP dungeon, and I actually have in parentheses here, Darkness Falls, because Matt Fire and I don't think, well, it was Paul Sage? I don't remember. Matt Fire was part of Dark Age of Camelot, and that's where Darkness Falls came in. It was one of my favorite PvP dungeons, and it fits perfectly with this, that whoever controlled enough keeps on the frontiers in Dark Age of Camelot opened up access to this PvP dungeon where you would be able to go in. It was PvE content, but the people who were in it before weren't kicked out. They can't enter new people. Like, new people can't go in because their entrances are locked off. But I know people who would make like rogue characters and stealth and make characters to hide in Darkness Falls and wait till they lost it, and then they would go in and gank the people trying to do the PvE encounters. I'm excited for it. I really am. It should actually bring back a lot of nostalgia from Darkness Falls, because Darkness Falls was a very kind of dark, it was full of demons, it was kind of creepy experience. And I think they'll be able to recreate it with all the, the Daedra and everything of that nature. I think it'll be really cool. What do you think?
I think Deltia is going to have a lot of fun with this, and I'm kind of scared that if we try it, he's going to be looking for my Pink Ranger suit, so I'll probably die a lot. In combination with the new Cyrodiil campaigns, I'm really looking forward to really diving into Cyrodiil and trying this out.
Indeed, I'm excited. Next up, changes to the VR. Changes to VR points with just experience points for VR level. And we talked about that a little bit, where they're changing the way that we no longer need veteran rank experience. We'll just use standard experience from our leveling to actually gain points in the new system. Now, the new system that's going to be replacing the veteran system is known as the champion system. And as you're leveling up, you'll be able to put the champion points into passive benefits to improve your character. So it's a lot like the Paragon system in Diablo 3, or the augment system or attunement system in Rift. Remember how as you were leveling up, you could put those extra points in that little grid to get just little benefits to actual crit, however you wanted your character to focus, you could do that, and it's going to be a lot like that. What do you think about the champion system?
I'm sad they're getting rid of the veteran system. I think that they really could have done something different and better with it.
Paul Sage did say the veteran ranks are remaining, however. So, but as you level them up, you will actually, this is part of their making it beneficial that when you level up, you get champion points to do a further augmentation of your character through this alternate advancement. So it's more of a augmentation rather than a complete removal.
Then, in that case, I'm a little confused, and I can't wait to see how it actually works. I hope that with this system, my DPS might be able to improve a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to augment your character any way that you really want, whether you want DPS, survivability, anything like that. And one of the neat things is as you're earning these champion ranks, it is account-wide. So once you've earned a champion rank or champion points, they're available to all your other characters. Now, given only level 50 characters can use or earn champion points, but it does benefit all characters. So say you're on your highest level character and you earned, 5 champion points. When your other characters are leveled to 50, they will already have 5 available to use. So it'll be a way that I guess alts won't feel as much of a grind to level. Because I can tell a lot of people were saying with how the current veteran rank system was, they didn't even want to level an alt because of how long it took to actually level a main. All that work to go into it. Yeah, I'm fine with that because I don't care for alts. Oh, I already said that one. The last bit of news that's kind of really neat that I wanted to highlight is they're going to be adding new gear sets into the game. And the coolest thing about these gear sets is that they're going to be released in seasons, almost like new tiers of gear, like rating tiers. So when these seasons are out, the most current season is going to be very rare and very hard to get, but it's not going to be tied to veteran ranks like the old gear was. But now, like I said, it'll be in seasons. So we'll say Season 1 is here, and Season 2 is available. Season 1 will be very common, similar to how another MMO, Final Fantasy A Realm Reborn, does their stuff, that when the new raid tier comes out, you know how they change the philosophy tomes to mythology tomes? That's what they're doing with this. Season 1 will be very readily available, so it's kind of easy for you to catch up. Season 2 gear will be much harder to acquire. It'll be rare. It'll be much harder to get. So when you get it, it will have better stats, better upgrades. It'll just be it'll be a full upgrade piece of gear, but it'll be much harder to get. But the previous, that way, if you go away from the game and come back for after a little while, you won't have to go through all these different seasons. You just start with the latest season. So like if you stopped at Season 1 and come back at Season 7, you won't be stuck with Season 1 gear for long, because the Season 6 gear will be very readily available for you to acquire and get yourself up to a power level that you can do the content that you want to do to acquire the Season 7 gear. What do you think about that? I'm
just hoping with the new gear that they not necessarily update the way it looks, but I want different gear. All of it looks the same, which was said previously in the show, that all gear, to me, they're boring, they look the same. It's time for different variations in the way gear looks. That's all I'm really hoping for.
I'm not even looking, I want them to do better gear in general. Now, they did answer one question that I had, which was asking whether or not they would be changing the way armor is portrayed, because right now it's very two-dimensional, if you will. It looks painted on, and it doesn't connect well. Like certain armor, the elbow pads are floating off in space, the knee pads are floating off in space. When you run, the pieces of armor on your hips float in space like they're not even attached to you. The armor doesn't look very thick, even when wearing plate mail armor, because they didn't do multiple layers. They didn't change how the modeling was done. And unfortunately, Paul Sage said because they're having issues with frame rates as it is, that's why they had to make certain concessions to how gear was designed to maintain those frame rates. Now, he did say they are planning on improving the way it is designed, and there are going to be visual updates coming in the near future, but probably not to the extent that I or you are hoping for, to make it look more like, you know, like when you're wearing plate mail, that the different plates are actual plates of metal and not just, you know, body paint. I don't know, we'll have to see, but I was kind of disappointed with that there will be no changes to the armor to make it look less painted on. Very sad indeed. Anything else you want to talk on before we move on to our Tales section?
No, I'm ready for the Tales section.
All right, we're moving on to the next section of our podcast, the Tales of Tamriel, where we talk about our adventures throughout Tamriel. I did not have any Twitter response for this week, only because I forgot to post it, so that's my fault. So let's talk a little bit about our character changes. Thais, go ahead.
There's nothing that I remember that I did differently this week. I've just been I've been trying to level my destruction staff, so as we've been working on our VR content, I've been trying to stay away from my healing staff, which is scary, because whenever my health drops, I'm afraid you're not gonna heal me. But I've been trying. Other than that, everything has been the same since last week. I don't think I've gotten any new skills. I've just been leveling the ones that I opened up last week.
Right. I can tell you that for me, I'm still leveling. My light and medium armor is going very slowly, but I'm getting very close. I think my medium armor hit 43 or 44, and my light armor is 45. Getting close on the bow, finishing off that bow. I don't like the bow anymore. I want to actually switch it off to destruction staff, because I can't play the Elder Staves online without a staff. However, I will say this one thing. The one ability, I did get a new ability on my bow called Snipe. It was the highest level ability. I don't like it. It's a 2-second cast time. It's supposed to do like 400 and some odd damage to a character, which is like twice as much as any of the other abilities. But it costs so much stamina and takes so long to cast. I don't see it as being all that useful in PvE content. I can fire off 2 different arrow or venom sprays or poison spray arrows, which does about half the damage for half the cost, plus it puts a dot on the enemy. In the end, I'll get off 2 shots and do more damage for the same amount of stamina, and I'm not sitting there for 2 seconds with an idle cast time. I just was not fond of the snipe ability. Again, it may be better if you had more passives in bow. I don't have many at all, because I'm just trying to level it up. Yeah. Now, before you say anything, Thais, I'm trying to level up all of my skills to 50, so that way I can play with them later, get them to 50 so they're max, and then I'm going to respec and put everything the way that I have my character build later. So that's why I don't have a lot of passives. I'm just leveling with it. Don't give me the eye daggers over there. Okay, well, that's about it for our character progression, other than our alts, which we didn't really touch our Dragon Knight and Templar this week. We didn't have as much time. We spent a lot of time on our Templars. Templar Sorcerer this week. And we actually started on the Isle of Bretony. I refuse to call it Betnikh or whatever the orcs call it. It was the Isle of Bretony before the stupid Thunder Seamount orcs or whatever they are took over it. So the Isle of Bretony is where we were. And yeah. So go ahead and let's talk a little bit about where we start first. We started heading to the southern part of the island on a vision quest. Remember how we had to go down and track what was going on with the land?
We had to touch a shaman's staff. Shaman. Shut up. We had to touch a shaman's staff that had been a part of this island for a long time. And what the staff did was it collected the memories and the feelings of the island. Good ones, bad ones, and we were using it to try and find out what were they? They were the cultists.
I forget what the name of the cultists were now.
But they were cultists that were on this island, and they were doing bad. They were disrupting the orcs, even though I have now discovered that I do not like the orcs. So we had to figure out what was going on there. So we had to go to 2 different places. I think it was north, south, and west, I think. Might be wrong, I'm not sure. But we had to go to each one of them and touch something, call up something, and we got to see a ghostly scene play out in front of us. And it was really, really neat to be able to kind of see what had happened in the past, because 2 of the scenes didn't really have anything to do with the cult, but you still...
I think you're thinking the wrong quest. That was a spirit quest, but we're actually referring to the one where you had to go down and they stole the books, and they were trying to get into the spirit realm. So we would stop at each spot, and a new scene would play out, but it was always the same guy. We'd follow the rogue across the bridge.
Oh, yeah, it's totally not the one I'm talking about.
No, it's not.
Okay, well then you go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, well, that one was kind of boring.
No, oh, okay.
But we snuck into there. It was kind of neat because we were sneaking in. We actually did this, the vision quest to see what was happening, why the cultists were there, and the warlord of the island told the orcs they weren't allowed to go out and fight them. So they kind of got us to do it. Now, we went out there. I love the island. It's gorgeous, and we're sneaking around. And, of course, we got a little bit of help from your crush. What's his name?
Yakarn.
Yeah. Yeah, he pops in to help us. It was kind of neat because when we went in, we had to stop them from trying to find a way of getting into the spirit world. So we went into their lair, and we were trying to hunt down the guy. And it's kind of neat because your little Breton rogue guy is following us around everywhere, just giving us off-color comments every 3 seconds. It was pretty funny.
I love him so much.
Indeed. As with all the other stories, you're following essentially the crew that we got from Stros Mackay. All the different guys are there, and they help us out throughout the journey. Now, another note, after we went through and found out that he managed to make it into the spirit world, he told us to leave and go back to the Orc Shaman, tell him what we found and what they were planning. But on the way out, it's really funny because your little Breton rogue stopped and said, "You guys go on ahead. I have to, these cultists need stolen from." So he just went back and was robbing their headquarters. It was kind of funny. But we went out there and we talked to her, the Orc Shaman, and started going back around the island a little bit more. What was really funny is we were just kind of adventuring off to the west of the island, and we managed to go into this one section that was covered with spiders, and you were not paying attention at all. So she wasn't freaked out because she wasn't even really paying attention. I forget what she was doing. What were you, not talking on the phone? You're doing something.
I was typing in guild chat.
You were typing in guild chat. So those who were talking to her in guild chat distracted her enough that she really wasn't sure what it was she was fighting. So on the way out, as we were getting ready to walk out, I'm like, "You do realize those were webs and spiders?" And she just stops, turns around, looks, she's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that we're out of here." It was funny. It was definitely funny.
I'm glad it took me that long to realize where we were, because I would not have been able to adventure with Ag.
Now, there was one other thing that I wanted to mention before we move on to the actual other part of our journey. We found, tell us a little bit about why you don't like orcs anymore.
Oh, okay. So, the island originally started out as Betnikh, and it was a Breton island. Well, these Seamount warrior clan, they were on the sea of orcs. They found this island, and they just attacked it. They attacked it, and their reasoning is absolutely ridiculous. And as you're going through the storyline on Betnikh, you find out that you're talking to ghosts who were alive when it was still Bretony, and you find out what the orcs did to all these people. Now, I don't like the orcs because I feel like the rules that are set to them by their Daedric god, who is...
They call him
Malakath?
Malak is what they call him now, but he's Malakath.
Malakath. Now, I could actually agree with Malakath's teachings, that you're not supposed to... You don't steal. You... What was it? You can take things or attack things as long as you have a reason.
Yep.
And then there were two more. Can't remember what those are. But it sounds like that it'd be an okay god to follow, you know? But these orcs went onto this island and just started slaughtering all these Bretons for no good reason. They walked on this island and they liked that there was fertile ground, there was a lot of ore to harvest, and it was pretty. So because of those three things, this one orc chief's wives all said, hey, we should just settle here. So they went and they killed tons and tons of Bretons for no good reason.
Now, we disagree on what a good reason is, because to me that was a good reason, because they wanted new land and everything of that nature, and they were very honorable in their fight. Like, they wouldn't kill anyone that had surrendered, and anyone that surrendered, they were given the option of exile or death. So they were to leave the island and never return, or they would be killed there. But if they surrendered, they didn't kill them. Now, in the one quest, you were killing prisoners, but as the guy says with Malakath, is if they truly surrendered, they wouldn't be, they shouldn't be still trying to aid their false king. And if that they don't answer your questions, they're still aiding him and haven't truly surrendered, and to kill them. Which is honest. I would say yes.
No.
And the orcs were honorable. I liked them. I actually like them a lot now, more than I did before.
How is that honorable? To walk onto an island that is owned by other people who is not trying to attack you and just declare war for selfish reasons?
Well,
that's not a good reason.
No. Because what do you think the Bretons did with Orsinium? They sacked Orsinium like twice and just destroyed it.
Well, for a good reason, probably.
For good? No, there's no good reason.
Orcs are savage. The entire time we were on that island, the orcs kept saying that, oh, we're not savages, we're not savages. But that, to me, them taking over Betnikh, that was savage behavior. So I think that the Bretons destroying Orsinium was probably justified in some way.
No, definitely not.
You know what? That's okay. We can agree to disagree, but I still love my Argonians.
Yeah, no, the Argonians are worse. I like the orcs.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Now that kind of pretty much ended our duoing in the VR zones for this week. But we also did something else this week that was a lot of fun. Randomly in guild chat, I just announced out because I saw our friend Kipster, aka Rent-A-Kip, was online, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do a veteran dungeon, because we've not done them yet, so it would have been our first veteran dungeon.
And we are only VR rank 1.
Yeah. So Kipster jumped at this, going, yes, absolutely, let's do it. And we actually grabbed another one of our friends, Arcaneer from the guild, and the four of us went and did 2 different veteran dungeons. We did Banished Cells first, and then we did Fungal Grotto. And oh my goodness, that was probably one of the most fun I've had playing Elder Scrolls Online since it's come out. Like, that content is an amazing level of difficult. I love it. Alright, stop. Alright, go ahead.
Okay, the first dungeon, the Banished Cells, was amazing. It was a good difficulty. It wasn't frustrating. It didn't make me want to like punch Ag repeatedly in the face. It was nice. It was good.
We still wiped several times on the final boss in Banished Cells with the Daedric Curse and everything.
We did. But it was easy to learn and pick up. Like, we just had to move around more. You glitched a bit. which was really funny.
Yeah, I glitched at one point, because the final boss in Banished Cells, one of the things he does is he randomly selects a player, puts them in a bubble, and throws them up in the air. Well, I had a Daedric curse on me, or he was hitting me or something. I forget what it was, but my health was ticking down, because I don't think I cured a Daedric curse. He cast the bubble on me, and I flew up in the air and died in the air. But instead of falling back down to the ground, I fell in the sky, and I was stuck in the sky. So no one was able to actually reach and res me. And what was funny was Thais was trying to glitch the system, going, maybe if I stand directly under you, it'll ignore the y-axis and just let me, res me anyway. Well, no, it didn't. But what was funny is, she's like, am I right underneath you? Am I right underneath you? And then he hit her with the bubble, and she floated right up next to me. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she fell back down.
So we did die there a couple times, but it was an unfrustrating level of difficulty. It was the perfect amount in Banished Cells. And the monsters in Banished Cells were actually higher than those in Fungal Grotto. So then we decided to do Fungal Grotto. Now, at first, everyone was trying to get me to go into, what was it?
Spindle Clutch.
Spindle Clutch, which probably would have led to me needing a sedative and, some psychotherapy. So I said no to that. So we went into Fungal Grotto instead. Well, as soon as we stepped into Fungal Grotto, I got really upset because there were Spideys everywhere. And they were the kind where they were like the black and the red looking evil
the Black
ones.
Widows. Yeah.
They were really gross. They just looked like they would attack you and your skin would go necrotic and you'd just die in seconds. I didn't enjoy it. It was horrible. I was screaming throughout the whole dungeon. Oh, and then there were 2 bosses in that dungeon that were actual gigantic Spidey creatures. The one of which got up on its hind legs and was roaring at me. Did not enjoy that. That's also the boss where you died a lot because you can't sprint. Because you need your stamina.
That was actually one of my favorites, actually. It was not really a spider. It was one of the spider Daedra, because the people we're fighting in there are the cult of Minfala, the spider cult. And it was kind of neat because how the fight works, and this is something that was pretty cool. Like, the first fight was a giant spider. He wasn't super difficult because a lot of it was just him laying down lots of poison circles on the ground. Just avoid them, and it was pretty much just DPS him down. It was a fairly simple fight. Now, the next fight in Fungal Grotto is the one that we got stuck on for a very long time because I forget who it was, but it was just one person, member of the spider cult, and the mechanics of the fight are like this, that when you start the fight off, she hits like a truck, by the way. There's 2 sets of ads. A group of 4 that pick a random player and they chain them to the ground, so you're stuck on the ground with your arms and legs chained in between them, and a spectral sword is falling down towards your body. And if it reaches the player, it supposedly kills them. I think Arcaner, who was tanking for us, survived it once, but he only had 5 hit points left. So it's meant to be an instant kill mechanic. So what you have to do is you have to interrupt their meditation by shield bashing them or stunning them, I'm assuming, something along those lines, and making them stop. So we had Kipster, he put on his sword and shield, and him and Ark were going back and forth, always trying to stun. The second group of shadow ads just do a huge amount of damage, and the other mechanic she does is she links 2 characters together with a line of light, and it constantly does damage to them, and I'm talking a lot of damage, and very quickly. And you have to run apart from each other to break that link. We wiped on that a lot. And I think I was, at that point, I'd switched to melee, because my 2-handed axe I upgraded cleave to carve. I morphed it, and it gives me ultimate. So every time there was a set of 4 of them, I would just go in there and cleave, and my ultimate would go up like crazy, so I could keep doing that Soul Assault ultimate, which does insane amount of damage. It's like one of the best ultimates in the game. It really is for damage. I love it. But that was a really, really, really fun fight. We made it through that after I don't even know how many wipes. Thanks to Kipster for giving both Thais and I an extra set of soul gems, because we were running out, because we were constantly rezzing each other, and it was such fun. It really, really was. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I thought it was a little too difficult. I don't know, because I know on the spider bosses, those were my fault. I wasn't concentrating because I don't want to look at the boss. So if I'm not looking at the boss, it kind of means I can't see health bars as much as I should. I can't lay down my healing rain, healing springs, wrong game. So it makes it difficult for me to actually, heal adequately. But there were a lot of times we died over and over again. These 2 dungeons, I think we were running dungeons for over 4 hours. They took a very long time. And the final boss in Fungal Grotto, the mechanics for her were awesome. It was such a good boss fight.
Before we talk about that, let's talk about your other one, the Spider Queen, the Spider Daedra, because that was a fun fight for me. I loved it. Because when you're fighting that one, she's essentially has... she puts red circles on the ground that radiate from her that you have to be out of. Also, there's these 2 little, I guess, laser beams, essentially is what they are, that target from the shrine behind you, and if they hit a spot and they will follow a player, and the circle gets wider and wider until it hits its max size and then explodes. And the closer you are to the center of that circle, the more damage you take. So you can actually be on the outskirt and not die of the circle.
I died from that every time it hit me.
No, if you're on the outskirt, it doesn't kill you.
Oh, I promise.
If you're in the dead center, it kills you.
Okay.
Yeah, because it happened to me several times. But one of the cool mechanics of it, it's just a lot of movement in that fight, but the cool mechanic is she summons a portal to a Daedric realm, and inside that Daedric realm is full of other little spiders, ghostly spiders, real spiders, and it will randomly suck whichever player is the closest into that realm. And for a time, Kipster and I were trading back and forth. I gotta say, it is so much fun being inside that realm, because you feel like a total hero, because the music is playing. It sounds really cool. You're in there. I was just like, you know what? It's me walking in there with my axe, because I switched to axe when I was in there to melee everything. And it's just like, you get sucked in the realm, all these little spiders start hissing and spraying poison at you. It's just like, you whip the axe off your back and just start cleaving through them. Oh my goodness, is it a lot of fun. I love that fight. Now, the next fight, there are a lot of bosses in Fungal Grotto, by the way. It is a lot of fun.
Which is why we started calling it a raid. Yes.
The next one was really it was an interesting fight, because it was the Nord guy who did he's almost a tank and spank. He doesn't do a lot of mechanics. He does one mechanic where he swings his sword over his head, and if you're stuck in that circle, it will do damage. But the real mechanic of this fight is he throws his sword up in the air and drains all of your magicka. It just is a constant drain on magicka. So pretty much the entire fight, healers have 0 magicka. You have to rely on any sort of magicka regain, potions, equilibrium, whatever you have in order to gain magicka, which, by the way, you need to pick up equilibrium. It eats stamina and converts it to or health and converts it to magicka.
It's not open for me yet.
Oh, it's Mage's Guild? That's right. Yes, so, but it's a constant fight to keep your magicka up so you can do anything. It is an interesting fight. Now, the final boss was a lot of fun, too. It really only has... It's a fairly simple mechanic, but it's easy to mess up. You essentially draw a triangle in the room because there's a bubble, like an aura of magic in the one corner. That's your tip of your triangle. You never really go in there much. And the boss requires... She's ranged, so you need that one taunt from from the Undaunted. We are undaunted. Undaunted. Yeah, I hate their chant. They should fire those voice actors. They really should. Anyway, you have to use the range taunt, and what you do is everyone stacks up, because when she ports to you, she'll port over to you at one point, and she lays poison where every member of the character was standing. So you try to get all the poison stacks all stacked up. And then what you do is you run to the opposite side of the room where she was, turn around, and start damaging her again. At random points in the fight, she will raise up her staff, and she puts this little magical beam to every character, which does insane amount of dot damage. Insane amount. And you have to run into that aura of magic in order to clear the, to break the magical bond, or otherwise it will kill you in a matter of seconds. But you never want to stay within that protective aura of magic, because if she lays poison in there, you can't run in there if she targets you with that beam again. So it was just a really fun fight. And I know Ark, he was up to like 5 a.m. playing with us, and Kip, and it was just so much fun. I had so much fun doing those veteran dungeons. So we'll have to go back and we'll have to do Spindle Clutch next. We'll have to do that for next week or something. But that ends our Tales section, unless there's any... Oh! I did forget one thing. Last week I said how I caught lycanthropy in the Rift. Well, I did manage to actually cure myself of it, because there's no way I wanted it. And it was kind of funny, because I was talking to some of the guildies and stuff like that, and people were like, I don't get it. I'm sitting out there running around the Rift at like level 15, 20, looking for these guys for weeks to get bit by a werewolf because they want to get bit by it. And you're just out there wandering, picking flowers, not even wanting to be a werewolf, and you get attacked and become a werewolf. So I cured myself. I had to go to a priest of, I guess it's RK, and he cures you of the disease. They're normally in the Mages Guild, so I did cure myself. So I am no longer a werewolf. But that ends our Tales section for this week, and now we're going to move on to the next section of our show, which is the dramatic reading. As we stated last week, we have started a new series of books from the Elder Scrolls Online. And the last series was Daedric Princes, so we decided we were going to do a different book set, and this series is known as Divines and Deities. The series of books contains 10 volumes, Gods and Worships in Tamriel, which was last week. This week we are doing the Monomyth, Dragon God and the Missing God. So, Thais, go ahead and take it away.
In Mundus, conflict and disparity are what bring change. And change is the most sacred of the 11 forces. Change is the force without focus or origin. Agnithir Teherete, Order of Sigik. Simply put, the schism in the human Aldmari worldview is the mortal's relationship to the divine. Humans take the humble path, that they were created by the immortal forces, while the Aldmer claim descent from them. It doesn't seem like much, but it is a distinction that colors the rest of their diverging mythologies. All Tamrilic religions begin the same. Man or Mer, things begin with the dualism of Anu and his other. These twin forces go by many names. Anu Padome, Anuel Sithis, Ak-El, Satak Akel, Is not. Anuel is the everlasting, ineffable light. Sithis is the corrupting, inexpressible action. In the middle is the Grey Maybe, or Nirn in the Elnafey. In most cultures, Anuel is honored for his part of the interplay that creates the world. But Sithis is held in highest esteem because he's the one that causes the reaction. Sithis is thus the original creator, an entity who intrinsically causes change without design. Even the Hist acknowledge his being. Anuel is also perceived of as order, opposed to the Sithis, chaos. Perhaps it is easier for mortals to envision change than perfect stasis, for often Anuel is relegated to the mythic background of Sithis' fantasies. In Yokudan folktales, which are among the most vivid in the world, Satek is only referred to a handful of times, as the Hum. He is a force so prevalent as to be not really there at all. In any case, from these two beings spring the Et Ada, or original spirits. To humans, these Et Ada are the gods and demons. To the Altmer, the Aedra Daedra, or the ancestors. All the Tamrilic pantheons fill their rosters from these Et Ada, though divine membership often differs from culture to culture. Like Anu and Padme, though, every one of these pantheons contains the archetypes of the dragon god and the missing god. The dragon god and the missing god. The dragon god is always related to time and is universally revered as the first god. He is often called Akatosh, whose purge from eternity allowed the day. He is the central god of the Cyrodiilic Empire. The missing god is always related to the mortal plane and is a key figure in the human Aldmari schism. The missing refers to either his palpable absence from the pantheon, another mental distress that is interpreted a variety of ways, or the removal of his divine spark by the other immortals. He is often called Lorkhan, and his epitaphs are many, equally damnable and devout. Note that Tamriel and the mortal plane do not exist yet. The Great Maybe is still the playground of the original spirits. Some are more bound to Anu's light, others to the unknowable void. Their constant flux and interplay increase their number, and their personalities take long to congeal. When Akatosh forms, time begins, and it becomes easier for some spirits to realize themselves as beings with a past and a future. The strongest of the recognizable spirits crystallize: Mayfala, Arkay, Yifri, Magnus, Rabukta, etc., etc. Others remain as concepts, ideas, or emotions. One of the strongest of these, a barely formed urge that others call Lorkhan, details a plan to create Mundus, the mortal plane. Humans, with the exception of the Red Guards, see this act as a divine mercy, an enlightenment whereby lesser creatures can reach immortality. Aldmer, with the exception of the Dark Elves, see this act as a cruel deception, a trick that sundered their connection to the spirit plane.
I really like that book a lot, because it the one thing that really fascinates me about this game is how deep the not just the history, but the whole religion sect and the gods and stuff actually is. And like it even said, even though all the religions in themselves, they contain bits and pieces of the other ones, they all contain two essential, at least in this story, two essential things: Anu and Padme, and the story of the dragon god and the missing god. And each one, it's kind of neat how each group of people see things in different ways. Like, they still see the same person. Like in the case of Lorkhan, both the elves, the Altmer, and say the Nords, for instance, see the Lorkhan as he was indeed a divine being, whereas to the Altmer, he is almost like a Loki type character, and a trickster god. And to the Nords, he's almost a messiah figure, a god that gave of himself that they may live. So it's really, really fascinating.
It wasn't that difficult to read either. I was quite happy.
Okay, moving on to the next section is we're going to move on to our community spotlight. And our community spot this week, we decided to pick Deltia's Gaming again, and specifically, we picked. I found one of his guides that I really, really liked. It's an ongoing series on the Dragon Knight class, and so far he has part 1. He has an overview about playing a Dragon Knight. Part 2 is available now, and he goes through all the different skills and what they do and all of that. And it is really, really, really cool. And I do encourage you guys to go take a look over at deltiasgaming.com. It looks like a really nice guide. There's more parts of this guide coming. Apparently he's doing a part on gear and a part on like gear loadouts and stuff of that nature, and they'll be coming soon. So if you're interested in checking out something about Dragon Knights, or in particular any guide on Deltia's Gaming, you should go ahead and do that. Deltia has been on our podcast several times before. He is a recurring guest host here. And we really, really love his site. You should go check it out, deltiasgaming.com. And in particular, check out the Dragon Knight class guide. All right, moving on to our next section, we are going to talk about iTunes reviews. We had one this week. This is from the UK. Go ahead.
Blood for the Pact, 5 stars, Louse 101. If playing Elder Scrolls Online was a Christmas tree, Tales of Tamriel would be the happy Santa that stuck around to chat after you opened up his presents. Aggelos and Thais are the Rudolph and Blitzen of the gaming podcast world, dragging their slave knowledge across the skies of Nirn. As you can imagine from a pair of married talking reindeer, this is a highly enjoyable and informative podcast. I think that was the best description of our podcast ever.
It definitely was, and I want to thank Louse 101 for giving us that. Also, if you're from another country other than the U.S., letting us know if you put an iTunes review out there is great. I do like to check, but iTunes separates all the reviews by country, so each one is different. Thankfully, he sent me an email saying he wrote one, so that way I could go check it out. So if you've written a review on iTunes and you are not from the United States, send us a message. I do check the UK one from time to time because I know we have fans from there. So, but if you're from another country, I don't check those. So let us know, and I would be glad to check it out. All right, now we had a lot of emails this week. So, but we're not actually going to read, I posted everything, but we're not actually going to read everything in every email. We actually received 2 emails from our friend Michael Laird. I'm sorry, L-A-I-R-D. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Now, he sent us the first mail, which we're not going to read because he actually sent me a second one as well, where he talks about how he enjoys the podcast and he's been catching up on our later episodes. Now, he wanted to hear our thoughts on housing. Now, this is before he got up to, I guess, episode, what was that? I forget what it is. I know the title is A Place to Lay Your Head. And so a lot of it goes through the housing and stuff of that and what our thoughts were. So by the time he caught up to that, he sent us another email, which we will definitely read this one because he caught up. So, Ace, go ahead.
Good afternoon again to you. This is the second time within a week I am writing to you, and that is because I was catching up on your older episodes and got to episode 16, I think. Whichever episode it was, you talked a little bit about your hopes for housing. I found that for the most part, you both had bits and pieces of what I also would like to see. I like that you thought of talking about it on your own since you're the first podcast I've heard do that. And I love hearing different ideas. But since you have already talked a bit about housing, and you don't need to go into it further if you don't want to, however, I would still like to hear about your ideas on the mini PvP system I wrote about for it. I also have some thoughts about it being just traps and guards placed inside of the home instead of an entire basement. Again, this isn't some way to plug my post or anything. I just want to get more ideas out to the community, to ZeniMax, and the more people that talk, the more they will listen. Feel free to contact me back if you have any questions or want some clarification. Otherwise, great job on the show, and I hope you are all doing well. Sincerely, Michael. P.S. In my previous letter, I said to you, I believe I said in lieu of suggestions for your show, and I'm fairly certain I used that wrong.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. As for PvP with housing system, I really think a lot of this will come into play when justice system comes in. Because if they let you break into other people's houses and steal stuff, I think that would be really cool, being able to sneak into other people's houses. Now, that all depends on how they do the housing system. If they do like a community-style housing with wards and stuff like Final Fantasy XIV does, you could pick a ward, go into it, and try to break into houses. It would be kind of neat if you could put like a retainer or some other person like in your house, or perhaps even your alts, that they stay in your house and would actually act as, enemies to fight for anyone who broke into the house. I think that'd be kind of neat. and they used to staring at me like, what?
I'm not sure I agree with that, because I want to be the person who wants to steal everything from NPCs. If someone was to break into my house that I spent all kinds of time building, even if they don't necessarily mess with anything that I have done, I would still feel, I'd feel a little violated. Not sure I want that. That would not be cool.
I like it. I really like it as well, a lot. Now see, I think a lot of the stuff that... Okay. I think a lot of the stuff that... when they do this kind of system, I don't think they're going to be able to actually steal your stuff. I think they'll use a random thing that if you go into someone's house, they're not going to take note of things that are... They'll go to loot like a cabinet, and it will randomly generate something for them to steal. It's not going to steal what you have in it. I don't know of any game that would allow you to do that in an offline sense, and I highly doubt they would do something like that, because that kind of thing is generally not looked upon with favor, because then when people log off, they're like, great, now my house is just going to get ransacked, and that's what would happen. So I really don't think that's going to happen. I think if someone breaks into your house, you may get like a little fun notification, someone broke into your house, but nothing that you actually stored would be stolen. I think it's something similar to, you know, it's just a fun mechanic. You sneak into someone's house. Oh, this is nice how they lit it out. And let's ransack it. And they would just randomly open drawers and stuff like that, and things would come out. But it'd be random.
I would need all of my alts to like beat up my burglars.
Now you'd have to level up your alts.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Next email.
This one is from Nate. Hi guys, great work on the show as always. Having completed everything available through my Ebonheart pack questing, I'm about to start a new character for another faction. I can't decide where to focus my crafting though. I spent most of my time raising my skills in provisioning and alchemy within Ebonheart, but apart from the satisfaction of being able to create strong potions, I never found it was much use. I always have more potions than I need, and I can't eat provisions fast enough. On top of that, I've never thought any of my weapons were underpowered. Might be because I'm a heavy armored DK. So I've never felt the need to craft weapons or use any other than those I'm rewarded from with quests. I've also heard enchantment is pointless at certain skill levels, and is a really poorly implemented system compared to Skyrim. So my question for you is, what should I bother leveling in my new character? I'm probably going to play as a sorcerer, and try and specialize in destruction magic. As to where I spend my time crafting, if at all, might be up to you guys. What should I do? Thanks. My suggestion is actually enchanting. It's really hard to find great runes in the world. If you are going to make any of your weapons, if you want to sell anything to make lots of money, enchanting is probably your best bet. Now, it takes a long time, and it's being changed a little bit, so it might be easier later on, but you can make a lot of good money that way. You can always replace or update enchantments on gear that you already have, as long as it's not locked. If you decide to make any of your gear, you can pretty much make them any way you want them, besides it being chosen from quests what you're going to get. It takes a while, but it's a really good skill to have.
I'm actually of the opposite. I don't think enchanting is pretty much worthless as a whole. To make the most amount of money, your best bets actually would be still the blacksmithing, clothing, and woodworking. And this is why. What you want to do is not so much to level them up, because gear's neither here nor there if you don't feel like crafting. The big things you want are those deconstruction bonuses, as well as the hirelings, so you can get the upgrade materials, because those sell. If you want money, getting tempering alloy, dreg wax, or whatever the other one's called, rosin, or whatever it is, the legendary and epic quality upgrade mats sell for a lot of gold. I find those to be the best money makers, because if you get those, especially with that higher points and that extraction ability, you have a better chance of getting those rare upgrade materials, and then you can sell those. I'm telling you right now, I have 2 or 3 stacks of honing stones, which are cheap. You're not going to sell them for a lot. Don't even expect to. But the dwarven oil sells for almost like 500 gold a piece, and I have like 80 of those. The grain solvents sell for over 1,000, at least from what I've seen, and I probably have close to a full stack of those. And I probably have close to 50 of the tempering alloys, which at this point sell for over 2.5 to 3K. So you can make a lot of money fairly quickly if you're willing to part with those items. But that's what I would say. The other thing is alchemy, because if you can get those points where you're creating lots of...
He already leveled it on his other character, and he didn't enjoy it.
That's one of those things where it's kind of hit or miss, because you're going to need lots of potions, like... I was talking to Kipster the other night, and he does a lot of trials and stuff, and he goes through potions like crazy, so he's constantly buying stacks as he didn't level it. So you can make money making high-end potions for like veteran rank 12 potions. If you can make the, good potions, you can sell them because those endgame PvPers and PvEers want them because they go through stacks of them in a week's time. But it's still a matter of, I still think the better way is the blacksmithing and woodworking and clothing, because if you get those high extraction, you can get those upgrade mats and you can sell those. I mean, even if you get the raw materials, they sell for 1.2 to 1.3k a full stack, 100, regardless of what they are. So I mean, it's a quick way of just getting rid of all your extras. But those are our opinions. Moving on, next email.
Okay. This is from Clayton. Aggelos, good morning. I am not sure if you heard about this change, but was not in the latest official patch notes and is pretty significant for us, Nords. In the last patch, the Nord passive ability Rugged was changed from plus 300 armor to plus 6% damage resistance. In my opinion, is way better than the armor bonus. A big buff, making Nords even better as tanks. Thank you and keep up the good work. Clayton. Feral in-game.
Yeah, he's in the game.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, I did see that change, and it was definitely a nice change, because 300 armor, in reality, is not much at all. So, the next email I'll read. So, it was definitely a nice change.
Come here, Khajiit.
We have a Khajiit walking on our desk at the moment, because...
she misses Mommy.
Yeah, since we are recording this episode, we're actually just using my new Blue Yeti, so we're both on the same mic. So we're both over here, and normally she sits on her lap over at her desk, but since she's over here, she's over on mine. Oh, what a cute little Khajiit. Next up, we have an email from Estelden. Hey guys, recently came across your show a few weeks ago, and I've been catching up with the episode, partway through the most recent one now. I really enjoy listening to you guys, especially as I myself play alongside my wife, and so I can really relate to your tales, especially as... Coincidentally, I am a Templar and my wife is a Sorcerer. Keep up the great work. Now, he was saying on another note, as I've leveled every weapon to 50 and played around with them all, I've been recently writing guides for my guildies to help give them an idea on what skills they may want to go with, as it can all be overwhelming trying to choose. Obviously, it's just my opinion and doesn't take into account people's personal playstyle or preferences, just generic ratings for the skill lines. So as the Ace is thinking about dual wield, I thought I would share this particular guide with you. Hope it helps. Warning, it's long, and he color-coded to make it easier to read. But I'm guessing here it's just a wall of text. Now, I emailed him back, and I'm not going to go through the guide because it's a nice guide. He goes through and gives his opinion on each of the abilities, but it is a fairly long, and for this medium right here, it would be a rather boring read and a listen for anyone listening going, oh, yeah, okay. So I actually asked permission of him to post it on talesoftamriel.com. So I'm just actually waiting to hear back to see if we get permission, and we'll link it back to him and everything that he's done. That way you guys can read it as well. But we're not going to actually go over it on the show because it is just a wall of text and about different abilities. But if we get permission to put it up on the website, we will do so. Thank you again for your email and your guide. I did read through it. It does look pretty cool, actually. And I like your little rating system of the numbers behind. Put a little number next to each one based on his opinion of how useful it was. So, thank you again. That is really great. And we hope to hear back from you soon. All right. Now reaches the part of the show which is our final thoughts. And let people know where they can follow us. So, Thais, tell us your final thoughts for this episode.
I really enjoyed the way that we did the episode today. It was different. It was new. It was kind of difficult to set up at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to find out how everyone else liked it. But I know that I had lots of fun. That's why I was doing my happy dance a little bit earlier in the episode. And yeah, it was a great show. You can find me in game at Tear Eater, TEAREATER. Excellent.
Yeah, we definitely tried. We wanted to record on just one mic because we have one really good mic right now, and it was definitely it was a fun show, sitting right here and playing with the little Khajiit that's on her lap, and yeah, it was a fun show. We definitely learned a lot from the interview with Paul Sage, and it's really, really exciting, all the stuff that's coming. And I know I might sound harsh sometimes, but it's because I actually do love this game so much. And I want them to actually know what, we're feeling as fans. I refuse to white knight the game just because it's an Elder Scrolls game. I want it to be the best MMO out there, and that's why I give my opinions honestly. But I'm still going to remain with this game because I adore it. Absolutely adore it. And it is so much fun, and I cannot wait to actually do more veteran dungeons with the people in the guild, because we just had so much fun last night. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank my co-host for joining me this evening. Thank everyone for listening to this podcast. If you wish to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link on our website. If you wish to contact us with questions, comments, criticisms, the website for our show is talesoftamriel.com, or you can email the show at podcast@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel, Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast, or on YouTube at youtube.com/Tales of Tamriel. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us via iTunes. That helps us out a lot, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Have a great evening, everybody.